1. Battle of Durazzo, 1918, the Allies break through in Albania. On October 5, 1918, during World War I, Allied forces launched an assault on Durazzo, modern-day Durrës, Albania, a key Austro-Hungarian port on the Adriatic Sea. The battle involved a combined land and sea operation, with the French and Italian navies playing crucial roles. The goal was to disrupt Austro-Hungarian supply lines and open up the Balkan front for further Allied advances. The Austro-Hungarian defences, supported by naval ships, were overwhelmed by the superior Allied firepower, marking a turning point in the Balkans campaign. This victory played a part in hastening the end of the war in the region. 2. First Battle of Charleroi, 1914, early clash in World War I. On October 5, 1914, the German forces clashed with the French army at Charleroi during the early phase of World War I. This battle was part of the larger Battle of the Frontiers, which was a series of engagements between the Germans and the French and Belgian forces. Although it had officially begun in late August, key skirmishes and strategic movements on October 5 underscored the brutality of trench warfare and marked an important stage in the struggle for dominance along the Western Front. The French attempted counterattacks, but the German war machine was relentless, pushing the Allies back. 3. American Revolutionary War, British capture Fort Washington, 1776. On October 5, 1776, the British launched a significant offensive aimed at securing Fort Washington on the northern tip of Manhattan Island during the American Revolutionary War. This strategic fort controlled access to the Hudson River, and its capture would allow the British to dominate the region and isolate New England from the rest of the rebellious colonies. After a prolonged siege, the British, under General William Howe, successfully overwhelmed the Continental Army's defenders. This defeat led to a series of setbacks for George Washington's forces in the New York campaign, but also demonstrated the resolve of the fledgling American army. 4. Battle of Nicopolis, 1396, the fall of the Crusader army. On October 5, 1396, the remnants of the Crusader forces were scattered following the catastrophic defeat at the Battle of Nicopolis in modern-day Bulgaria. The battle had been fought just a few weeks earlier on September 25, but October 5 marks a key moment when the Crusaders accepted the full consequences of their failure. This battle was one of the last major crusades launched by Western Europe to halt the expansion of the Ottoman Empire into Eastern Europe. The Ottoman Sultan Bayezid I decisively defeated the Allied European forces, showcasing the might and military prowess of the Ottomans and marking a critical point in the consolidation of their empire. 5. Start of the Siege of Ladysmith, 1899, Boer War. The Second Anglo-Boer War saw fierce fighting between British forces and the Boer republics in South Africa. On October 5, 1899, Boer forces began the Siege of Ladysmith, surrounding the British garrison and cutting them off from reinforcements. This siege was part of the larger conflict over control of South Africa's rich resources, especially gold and diamonds. The Boers employed guerrilla tactics, using their knowledge of the terrain to trap the British forces in the town of Ladysmith. The siege lasted until February 1900 and was a prime example of how asymmetric warfare and attrition could challenge a militarily superior force. 6. Battle of Lutzen, 1632, prelude to the main engagement in the 30 Years' War. though the Battle of Lutzen in the 30 Years' War is better known for the fighting that took place on November 16, 1632, October 5 marked a critical prelude as the Swedish forces under King Gustavus Adolphus maneuvered toward confrontation with the Holy Roman Empire's forces. This date is significant as the Swedish army carried out key tactical movements that would culminate in one of the bloodiest and most decisive engagements of the war. Gustavus Adolphus' use of mobility and firepower revolutionized military tactics in Europe, and although he would perish in the final battle, the events of early October set the stage for his army's eventual success. 7. Battle of Philippi, 42 BC, Roman Civil War, Antony and Octavian close in. On October 5, 42 BC, during the Battle of Philippi, the forces of Mark Antony and Octavian, the future Augustus, began to encircle the army of Brutus and Cassius, the leading assassins of Julius Caesar. The first phase of the battle took place on October 3, and by the 5th, Antony's tactical brilliance had allowed him to close in on Brutus' troops. This battle was one of the final decisive confrontations in the Liberators' civil war following Caesar's assassination. Antony's forces eventually overwhelmed the Republican armies, leading to the suicides of both Brutus and Cassius and marking the end of the Roman Republic. 8. Battle of Lissa, 1810, Napoleon's Naval Wars. On October 5, 1810, the Battle of Lissa took place between French and British naval forces during the Napoleonic Wars. This was a relatively small-scale naval engagement in the Adriatic Sea, but it illustrated the importance of naval control for supply lines during the conflict. The British, under Captain William Hoste, managed to repel a French attempt to take the island of Lissa, modern-day Vis in Croatia. Hoste's tactical expertise and use of smaller, more maneuverable ships proved decisive. The British maintained naval superiority in the Mediterranean, hampering French efforts to disrupt British supply routes in the region. 9. Second Battle of Bassano, 1796, Napoleon's Italian campaign. On October 5, 1796, Napoleon Bonaparte won the Second Battle of Bassano against Austrian forces during his first Italian campaign. This battle was a continuation of his strategy of dividing and defeating smaller Austrian units before they could unite. Napoleon's forces surprised the Austrians under Joseph Alvinci, inflicting heavy losses and forcing them to retreat. The victory further solidified Napoleon's reputation as a brilliant tactician, particularly in the use of speed and decisive maneuvers to outflank and overwhelm opponents. His Italian campaign laid the foundation for his rise to power in France. 10. Ambush at Kandahar, 1842, First Anglo-Afghan War. On October 5, 1842, during the First Anglo-Afghan War, British troops faced an ambush while retreating from the city of Kandahar in Afghanistan. The withdrawal followed the disastrous British defeat at Kabul, and the retreating army was constantly harassed by Afghan forces employing guerrilla tactics. On this date, Afghan fighters, taking advantage of the rough terrain, launched a devastating ambush on the British column, further humiliating the already battered British forces. This marked the culmination of one of Britain's greatest imperial disasters, illustrating the difficulty of sustaining military control in Afghanistan's rugged landscape, a lesson that would resonate in future conflicts.